Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does! And that might be the knockout punch.
All right, y'all. Greetings and salutations. Another episode of Fangs up here, and let's kind of button myself a little bit, get myself right. Let's see if we can. There we go. Oh man, it's that feeling that you do a little bit of celebrating after being crowned. Nah, I'm kidding. I ain't celebrating that hard over preseason awards. I'm excited though. I will say that about our awards. But before we do all that, big shout out HBCU Digital Network. This is home. My shirt, yeah. I'm one of those. I'm a little nitpicky. I ain't gonna lie to you. Home of Herb Seward, the Black Techies, also obviously home to the Fangs Up podcast. And man, it's been a interesting. Like, what a difference a week made. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if you had told me last week that we'd be kind of sitting here and oh yeah, just had a whole, the football program shut down, and a week later we're right back into things like nothing ever happened. I'd be plausible. I don't know if that's what I'm buying, but plausible. And it's just kind of a bounce back week. Like it's almost like nothing happened. And I'll be honest, since they're not really talking about it. I'm not talking about it. I mean, but we did have SWAC meet today and go, and it was an informative event. Hopefully, some of you got to listen to it or watch it. If you got to catch the Zoom call, yours truly, I was definitely on there. You could also hopefully got to catch it online, but it was a pretty cool event. Didn't get to travel to it this year, but appreciate the SWAC for doing the Zoom thing though, because that did help those of us who didn't travel get ready for the game and get excited for it. And you got to see that the mindset's the mindset. It's for that OBC. It's beat Jackson and it's Celebration Bowl or bust. That's the mindset per one of the FAMU players. So we also saw that FAMU is very big on the players they got from the transfer portal and the contributions that they can make, especially looking forward to what the offensive line can do, what the running backs can do, what the wide receivers can do this year and going into the new season. Like that's going to be interesting to see things that if you watch the Fangs Up podcast, we've already talked about. Also, on the defense, we got to see where Morgan was like, I want 9 picks. So, and OBC's big. So, pretty interesting time there as far as with FAMU. Now, what we're talking about today, we're talking about that FAMU Texas. To me, this is one of those games that going in, I thought one thing, and coming out, I thought another. I definitely, I looked at this game and said, "Oh snap, FAMU's got to stop Andrew Body." Like just because we don't get to watch as much Texas Southern on this side of the Mason Dixon. Like so, a lot of times, what you did see of Texas Southern was a little bit later in the season, or it was just hearing about how great Andrew Body is, hearing his stats, but then men lie, women lie, numbers don't is the thing. And that's not saying Andrew Body isn't as good as advertised. But that's saying when I looked at Texas Southern again, I came away taken aback because they actually ran the ball a little bit more than I thought. And some of that may have been out of need, out of necessity, but uh, I definitely came away looking at that game a little differently because I came in thinking like, oh, Texas Southern just slung that rock. And they really they weren't that much. Now last season they did have a losing season. 5-6 season. So that's nothing to write home about. It's really not. It's nothing to, really celebrate. But they kind of finished pretty strong. Like they were in contention for the SWAC championship at the end, and they scored pretty well though. Texas Southern was the third best offense in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, followed by FAMU. Their rushing was actually fourth in the conference. FAMU was dead last. Passing, which I don't know how much of that has to do with injuries and other stuff. Yeah, but it had something to do there because you're not gonna tell me Andrew Body's that dude. And I mean, you know, now defensively, Texas Southern was they weren't very good on defense. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like second worst defense in the SWAC. Now the passing defense was solid, but then and second worst rushing defense, sorry. But the question comes in, was the passing defense ranked high because how poorly the rush defense was? Like go back, check the stats. That defense has questions. And yeah, so the big questions going into this game are going to be, can Texas Southern stop the run? And that's going to be on the other side. Can FAMU run the ball? Is going to be the question. The answer from a FAMU fan is going to always be an emphatic yes, that we can run the ball, especially when you look at what we brought in recruiting. But then the other question is, will Texas Southern be able to establish a run? This is going to be, to me, this is where things kind of get interesting because you start looking at Andrew Body as a quarterback, but also as a runner. Like how 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 much of what he is able to do can you take from other games that FAMU played? And then will Texas Southern, while Texas Southern is known for Andrew Body, what about the rest of the team? I think those are going to be the big questions that I kind of come in at asking and that I look for. Now, within this game, you have a few stories though. Obviously, Andrew Body is the big one. Like that's definitely going to be for every Texas Southern game. Andrew Body is going to be the guy that most fans, especially if you're not a Texas Southern fan, come into the game and say, "Oh, well, they got Andrew Body." Like that's going to be the first thing you say. The other thing is going to be the second part of that is going to be what kind of defense. Like, what do they get from their defense? Because when you go over to their websites and you're kind of looking at, all right, Texas Southern and Texas Southern football, and they had a few guys that did end up getting nominated for all SWAC awards. And Andrew Body was second team. So what you start seeing on their preseason honors, like it's running back, quarterback, D line, receiver, kick returner, and offensive line. So you see one guy on that entire defense that the SWAC was like, you should be on all SWAC. That's a question. Just that's a question for me, and it's not a consideration or it's not a critique. There we go. It's not a critique of the people who voted. It's a, oh crap, what is your defense doing if only one of your players are kind of making it there? That's gonna be the other question. The third question is going to be for those that are going to the game. How are you going to navigate this? Because this is the week that FAMU is going to be in town. Nice, decent Houston alumni base. It's also the week that the University of Texas plays the University of Houston in the same city, not very far apart from each other. So this is going to be that game where if you don't already have your hotel in that area, you want to get it. And you want to find out, hey, where can we do some tailgating type things? Like this ain't the game to do a road trip and decide we're going to figure out as we go. This ain't the week for that. This is the week to kind of say, hey, we're here and we know what we're doing, kind of have a very planned and detailed out schedule or regimen. There we go. Because otherwise, you're not going to have as much fun. It's just Houston's a huge city, big city, can be hard to navigate, but it's also you're putting a lot of people in a small area and you're having two games that are good attendance. This could be one of Texas Southern's more well-attended games. Just looking at the schedules, they got this one. They got Prairie View coming. That is the Shell Energy. Okay, so that's home game. Let me see. Yeah, so this one in the Prairie View game are probably your best attended games, and we know FAMU alumni are probably going to show out just because, not because we're FAMU alumni. It's not because of that. It's because it's that this isn't something you get all the time. FAMU's not always in Texas playing sport, let alone football. And the other question, the other elephant in the room is the 100 coming. That's the biggest elephant in the room. Is the 100 going to come? Because last time we played Texas Southern in football, they brought their band to Tallahassee. So this is one of those games where you could definitely, if you're a Texas Southern person, kind of pull that card and be like, "Hey, 100, you kind of owe us one." Now, I don't know whether they do or don't. I'm not putting that in anybody's mouth to say or speculate that the band is coming. What I'm saying is, if I am a Texas Southern fan, or if I have any pull in that program, I do go back and mention, like, hey, remember the last time we played, we stayed in Tallahassee and they stayed for a while. So this game is going to be televised though, and most of the family games are televised. You haven't seen, they just did the recent update where they mentioned games are going to be on HBCU Go. That's going to be the Florida Gulf Coast game, ESPN and ESPN Plus, and then we also have to go on the Rattler Network now. So, but this one's going to be on ESPN Plus. So, as Scotty likes to point out, it's behind a paywall, but it's going to be an interesting sight. So, first thing, let's break it down. Quarterback, wash. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit up here and give you that FAMU is just 1,000 times better at quarterback. And I'm not as over on Andrew Body as others are, but when I've seen him, he's looked solid. And if he can stay upright, that's going to be huge. That's going to be the huge thing. Can he stay upright? Because he's a quarterback. I mean, it's very cliche to say that if you can put pressure on a quarterback that he's going to make mistakes. That's any person. That's like telling you that the soda's wet. Like, oh, well, let's see. Oh yeah, the soda's wet. Yeah, soda's wet. That's it's really something to make you sound like you're smarter than you are. Like, if you put pressure on the vast majority of quarterbacks, they're going to make mistakes. Just like you at your job. If you're under a deadline and you're rushing, you're gonna be more apt to overlook things like that. That's just life. But that's a real question. Can he get comfortable in the pocket, but also with body, can he maybe use his legs a little bit? We saw what a mobile quarterback can do to FAMU. We saw when Southern played FAMU. We also saw that when Jackson State played FAMU. And part of it was that definitely Jackson State had a quarterback who could use his arms and his legs. In this game here, when it comes up, it's going to be that question of, can Andrew Body stay upright? Can he deliver the ball? But can he also, is he going to be a willing runner? Because once he shows that he can run a little bit, completely changes the defense, especially when you're running a zone-based defense. Once he gets past that front four, he's kind of got free reign unless you put a spy on him, and then that takes somebody out of coverage. So it kind of becomes that cat and mouse game there when FAMU plays Texas Southern. As far as, okay, are you going to, you got to pick your poison, and within the defensive line, can the defensive line generate enough pressure so that all of a sudden you really nullify his ability to scramble by not giving him enough time to look down the field, not making him rush and go through his progressions quicker, where he's getting rid of the ball faster, or he's having to bail quicker, which all of a sudden puts him at risk of being hit by your linebackers. Like, that's really where they started to come in, and maybe they play a little tighter. I mean, further closer to the line of scrimmage, opposed to dropping back in coverage and kind of letting things come to them as much. And it's also going to be a game where I really think it's going to be dependent on you to mix up coverages. Like, you're going to have to trick this team more because it's later in the season. It's going to be about week 7 when FAMU plays Texas Southern, and because of that, they've got film on you. They've not only got film from last year that they can use, but they got film from the current year where they can look and say, this is what this year's version of FAMU is. Because it's just it's gonna look different. I think defensively, the film is the film. Offensively, it's gonna be completely different when it comes to FAMU. I really can't use last year's film for a lot because it's just so Xavier Smith heavy. Will you have that guy? I think the receiver from Cookman is going to be huge. That transfers in. I think guys like Dean are going to be huge. All those guys. But last year's film offensively isn't going to give you a lot as far as showing you much on where Moose is going to go with the ball. It's going to show you plays that FAMU has, but who's going to play that Xavier Smith role? And then I think the first couple of games, that's gonna be the issue because you're not gonna have Xavier Smith. You're gonna have all these other guys. And so by this point in the season, you've got good film to say, this is who you are in 2023, opposed to this is what you were in 22. But so when I went quarterback for quarterback, and I like to try to break it down position for position, and whoever has the most points is where I tend to lean. It's push. It's a push because I think Andrew Body's maybe a little more mobile than Musa, but I'm also not on the Musa's a statue train. Like I've seen that where Musa is not a statue. He's a willing runner. He's just a calculated runner. He's not going to hurt himself to run the ball. He's not going to try to run 40 times because he does understand, especially I think last year he understood like, yo, the backup ain't Musa. This year the backup ain't Musa, but the backup is Junior. I think Junior's solid. I don't know if he's quite where you want him to be yet, but that's a guy that honestly I think if he doesn't get the starting role next year, he transfers out. But still, I really think that in this case, quarterback for quarterback, push because one probably throws better while one runs a little better. But if you got the two of them, you got the first and second team quarterbacks in the SWAC, and I think it was by a hair. Running game, I'm gonna go FAMU on this one because of the offensive line and what you brought in. Otherwise, the stats would have had me just go Texas Southern, just because again, last year Texas Southern's offense was the fourth best rushing offense in the conference. My only thing, the only reason again why I go with FAMU is because it's that insider knowledge. It's not, and I shouldn't say insider. Insider makes it seem like I know something that you don't know that I can't tell you. There are things that are like that, but this ain't one of them. In this case, I know that FAMU's running game is bolstered by a new and healthier offensive line. I know that we lost a lot of players in that UNC game. I also understand that we're deep at offensive line this year, and part of that is to rectify and correct what happened last year. So that's the only reason I really say I think FAMU's got an advantage on the offensive line. And when I did watch Texas Southern, size-wise, their offensive line didn't impress me. When I did watch Texas Southern at times, their offensive line to me was something that wasn't a strength of theirs. I thought it could have been better. I think if Andrew Body had a better offensive line, Texas Southern maybe wins another 2 games. But I really think offensive line for offensive line, I'm gonna lean to FAMU largely because of the transfers they brought in. You got a transfer from LSU. You already got Goff, who was a transfer from FSU, who's been at FAMU going into his third year. You started to look at FAMU's offensive line. And I think we have better bodies. That's just me. Now when I go to running back, I'm going to, again, it's FAMU and partially is because of the transfer portal. I just think when you look at what fan you brought in the transfer portal, I think that's huge. Otherwise, I think Texas Southern again. I would look at their stats to say that as a team, those stats were nice. And I'll come back. I'll come back and look at their website. I'm clicking. It's moving slow right now, just to verify my thoughts. But I really think that Texas Southern, again, knowing how important that offensive line is, I'm gonna go there. Now, and this is where, again, when I said I looked at running, I knew something about Andrew Body's legs. Andrew Body ran for 700 yards last year. The top leading rusher ran for 719 yards. So your quarterback returning, or that on here. So That's something to look at. When your quarterback is the top rusher on the team, that tells me that's gonna have to change your defense. Hopefully, you may have to abandon some of your zone concepts, and you may have to mix the zone with the man, but when I'm seeing that their top rusher ran for 719, Andrew Body runs for 700, then another 400, okay, Imma lean the fan. We have more running backs by committee. I'm seeing here where, okay, Andrew Body and everybody's in the problem. Like, I'm just gonna say that now. This is a crap game because of his ability to move out and around the pocket. It's all that's again, that's why I said the offensive line is where I definitely had questions at for this game. But look at that, I'm still gonna lean to FAMU, and largely, again, it's the transfer portal. Adding to the transfer portal completely changes the game for this, and it also is the fact that I got a lot more I ain't gonna go there yet. Let me not do that. Um, receiver-wise, I'm going FAMU. I'm sorry. You got Andrew Body as your quarterback, and your offense was 10 passing? Okay. Yeah. I'm sticking with FAMU on that one just because that's just that's there. And top receiver from last year had 500 yards. That screams that it's kinda even, but at the same point, again, FAMU just brought the best receiver from Cookman into the orange and green. You add that with what we already have in Manigo and Day Day and yeah, yeah, K Dot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sticking with FAMU on this one because that's shocking that you have a quarterback that is that good and your highest receiver has 500 yards. That's not gonna fly. And it's just like I'm going with that one. So offensively, I got FAMU on that one. I felt like quarterback wise, it was a push. Like it was even. It was, and that's not me being a homer. That's I looked at the stats and then I went over there and looked and was like, okay, you got a quarterback that was a willing runner and that's a solid passer. Okay. Um, it's gonna be that same questions on offense with body that we're gonna have with Musa. Accuracy is definitely gonna be a question for both. But additional question is gonna be, can Andrew Body stay upright? Is he going to get hit? Is he going to get sacked? Are you able to protect him? Because if not, it's going to be a world of frustration. And you're going to be in a stadium that's going to be very tinted towards the other team offensively. Now, defensively, when I go D line for D line, I'm going FAMU. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they got one player that was considered all swag on the entire defense. I'm going FAMU defensive line, even though we just lost arguably our best defensive end. I still think FAMU's defensive line is gonna go deep. I feel like they're going to have a just a better game. I mean, linebacker, I mean, I'm biased. I'm not gonna lie. This is where I'll say biased and somewhat ignorant to who Texas Southern has a linebacker, but I've yet to hear anybody tout how great their linebackers are. I'm gonna say a biased fan. Secondary fan. Yes. When your defense is one of the worst in the conference, I can't I really can't. Like, now their rushing defense was, like, 2nd worst in the conference. Again, linebacker, defensive line, I can't do anything for you. Their secondary was 4th best in the SWAC. But again, with that, how much of that is just because your run defense was trash? And that's being respectful, but also addressing, like, the elephant in the room. That's just like any team that talks about FAMU's offense last year, and you say, "Hey, what was your offense without Xavier Smith?" And I was like, "Got a point." I mean, you got a point. He definitely changed a lot of games. I think that's going to be an overwhelming concern. Special teams, I don't know. Y'all know when it comes to FAMU special teams, I really don't know where to go. Part of it is just because some of these bodies are just where I don't know. We got it's you have a whole new special teams fleet coming in. So defensively, not by much. I got FAMU. And a lot of it is just because their defense was pretty bad last year at Texas Southern. Like it was pretty bad. Average points per game, they gave up about 400 yards per game. Uh, Touchdowns weren't terrible, but yeah, like it just wasn't. Mm-mm, mm-mm, not at all. Not gonna be able to do it. So, um, whereas when I look at FAMU's defense, I think that's gonna be the difference. And then again, offensively, this could be a really fun game. This is gonna be a game where it may be closer than some think because it's gonna be a good atmosphere. This is where some of that home field whatever creeps in. I don't think Texas Southern's gonna have a strong home field advantage. I think it's gonna be very similar to what you saw in that Texas Southern FAMU basketball game, where it was hype because the Rattlers showed up, and them and the Texas Southern fans, you could see it was kinda like, y'all can't come here and take over. We gotta be loud." I think that's gonna be some of the vibe you get here from this atmosphere, from this game. There's gonna be frustration with the inability to tailgate at the FAMU event. Hopefully, just find like a parking lot or someplace like that and just say, "Hey, this is not far from here. Let's have a Rattler tailgate or something like that, some restaurant." But I think this is gonna be the game where this is gonna be the most fun. Like this game right here is gonna help set up next year's game against Prairie View, where I think the next year's game against Prairie View is gonna be even worse as far as atmosphere wise. Like I really think next year Prairie View that could be a FAMU dominated venue. Whereas I think this year it's going to be close. I think Texas Southern has a slight edge, but when you start getting considering you're going to get all the Houston Rattlers, you can get Dallas Rattlers. You're going to start getting a lot of folks from Texas who have FAMU ties to come in. That's where it starts to kind of kick in, and it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a big thing as far as venue wise. Again, part of the story is going to be the fact that you got two major games. You got University of Texas playing Houston in its last year in the Big 12. So, that's going to be part of it too. But in this game, I do think it's going to be closer than I think right now, just because of the atmosphere. I think travel helps FAMU because this is supposedly one of our games that we're flying to. So you don't have to take a long drive from Florida to Texas. And so that is rather on that one. But I think that atmosphere is gonna get a little emotional. It's gonna be one of those you walk into the stadium and we hear vibes like, oh no, we ain't backing down and we got our fans with us. It's different when you walk into another stadium, another team's stadium, and you got a vibe. And I think this is going to affect Southern attendance, whereas I think you may have a drop off of people who attend the Southern game so that they can attend the Texas Southern game, and that's gonna benefit Southern. Like, that's that's on my list of games to be careful for, just because A.W. Mumford is different, but in this place, one, normally it's just not the normal vibe, but I feel like this game is gonna be one of those where you're gonna get a shocking it's gonna be closer than the experts think. I'll go for this one. I think FAMU wins. I definitely think FAMU wins, and it's just because this is, as Williams has stated, the best team he's had. It's not even that this team is X, Y, Z, and this is the best team he's had since he's been at FAMU. Even though he lost his best receiver, I'm mm, I think FAMU scores. I'm going 31. I'm going 31. I'm trying not to get one of those wonky scores, but I think 31-27. I really feel like at some point in the game, special teams is going to kick in. I feel like Texas Southern misses a kick just because I've seen some of the kickers before, and yeah, hopefully, for their sakes, we'll see. But I think it's closer than a lot of people think. I think because the atmosphere. I feel like this is gonna be the best atmosphere that Texas Southern gets at this point in the season, and I feel like a team like this, who isn't used to getting huge crowds, huge turnouts in their stadium, gets a good attendance where in a good crowd where the fans are somewhat combative. Like, this ain't a rivalry yet, but this has everything you need to make a good rivalry. You have a very rambunctious fan base and FAMU. You have a fan base that is really away from FAMU, that is kind of like, yo, I can't go to, your people who can't make it to homecoming that live in Texas are probably going to this. This is gonna be their one to be like, hey, I get to be around my family. They're going to have some fun. It's going to be the one that those people in that area go to. I think that makes the atmosphere better. Whereas I think if you had this game, you didn't have the Southern game, I think some of them make that travel to Louisiana. In this case, I think it's okay, nah, we're gonna go to Texas Southern, new stadium, new venue, never been there, and it's gonna be some of that just that freshness of a first time going someplace. I think you're gonna get that these first 2 years of playing the Texas schools. That's gonna be a fun and interesting environment. And then the last one is, will the 100 go? And if they go, can they share that information before? That's gonna be the fun part. Don't give me a surprise, we made a last minute decision, we're going. Like, give me these are the games we're going to, these are the games we're not going to. If you want us to go to these games, write some checks. Give me that as an alumni. I would love that idea. Like, hey, we're going to Southern, we're going to the Classic, we're going to Miami, all the home games. Okay, cool. All right, that's great. Now, let me know. Okay, so are you going to Texas Southern the next week, or are you gonna kind of do like Southern did us last year at Jackson State, where it's like we just had the Boombox Classic. I don't know about that. Or are you gonna flip it and say, Texas, last year you didn't come to brag. We came to brag the year before, but last time Texas Southern came to FAMU, we owe them one. Like, how do you play that one? Because that becomes a new interesting thing. Like, because now it goes to some of that what we call the OAG strike zone when they were talking about, the band traveling and stuff like that. That's my question for it. If the 100 goes to Houston, that game might sell out. Just because you get the Ocean of Soul, which they're solid, they ain't the best, but they're solid. They're a good band. And then you get the 100 in an atmosphere where they don't normally get that. I mean, they get Human Jukebox, they get the, Sonic Boom South almost normally every other year, something like that, but now the 100. And when is the last time the 100 was in Houston for a football game? Like, not for a band classic, but for a football game. I think that's gonna kinda be the caveat and something that if I'm a Texas Southern person in athletics or that's in the band atmosphere, I bring that up. And I started mentioning that like, "Hey, we came there. We stayed, hurricane hit, all this other weird stuff happened. We did some time in Tallahassee. Y'all gonna return the favor." So, but yeah, man, that's what I got for that one, man. I really think it's gonna be closer than I probably would like. 31-27. You just finished the Southern game. I think the Southern game is gonna be tight. The Southern game is tight, and I think Texas Southern and Southern are trap games. These are the 2 games that I, as a fan, I won't say I'm worried about, but that I would not walk in there with big energy. I would walk in there like, if you're not focused, you're gonna get your tails whipped, and that's gonna be one of those where that whole week, I may be teaching habits or whatever just to make sure their minds are right because heavens forbid you're on a good streak, especially a winning streak. It's easy to get cocky and start thinking you can just walk into people's stadiums and beat them, let alone a place you've never been, and the atmosphere is right, the vibe is there, and you can just walk in there and just be like with your headphones, like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna kick their butts," and expect something that's not gonna happen. This is going to be a fun game, and great atmosphere. This is honestly this was on my list of games to go to. I did take it off because of just some things with travel just made me feel like, yo, um, I don't want to go to this one. Like, and it's not because of the game. It's just I had a cousin having a baby. I ain't trying to be in the house with the babies. But yes, as Will is pointing out, it's gonna be heavy. Like that. This year is gonna be heavy. Next year, we're gonna take over. I think next year you take over Prairie. Really, and that's one of those you can walk off the bus talking cash money. Yeah, that's gonna be the one. Next year, next year's gonna be worse. It's a smaller venue. But yeah, I think FAMU wins this one big. I mean, not big, close, 31-27. I think the biggest difference is gonna be defense. AMU's defense versus Texas Southern's defense, the depth, the players, what we have there is gonna make a difference, and it's just the only reason I think it's close is because, like I said, the atmosphere, the vibe, the stadium. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Definitely one of those games we're gonna do instant reaction. Y'all know post we do instant reactions. We're gonna see about some other things with some of the guys, on some of the other networks. We're trying to do some things with FAMU. If you haven't noticed though, some of the FAMU players have an NIL collective kinda thing going, not a collective, it's an NIL website that they're working on, so look out for that. We also have a lot of events coming up to support FAMU athletics. Look, you got the Rattlers on the Vineyard coming up. That's gonna be up there in Massachusetts. You also have the Host Hotels coming out, and the boosters. They're letting you know about their fall sports kickoff, and if you don't know what all the boosters are doing, go check out the 220 Club, um, I don't know what to call it. I almost said live interview, but really it's a live stream that they did where they honestly somebody just sat there with their camera probably and videoed it. You got to hear a lot of what was said in some of the booster meetings that, I ain't gonna lie to you, I do get the benefit of sitting in that meeting. I just don't say stuff sometimes because some of that stuff is not meant, to be shared yet. It's just stuff they're trying to release. But they were letting you know some of the things that they're doing, how they are trying to help the university, and how much they are helping out. They stated they're $20,000 they're contributing to a coach's salary, they're contributing back pay for coaches, and that was one of the things 80 Sites stated that she was working on. That's been released out there. So it ain't like I broke news. It's already broken. It's just broken in another area. You also are seeing that they're supporting the athletics teams as far as equipment. And one of the new things that they are working on, they're trying to work on the nutrition program. So if you did not notice, Brian from OG Strike Zone said yesterday that we were working on something or that they were working on something. We are trying to figure out something to get behind. When we figure out exactly where we're going to go with that, we'll definitely share more with that. I think right now, if you can support the nutrition program. I'm not telling you to join the Rattler Booster Club. I haven't had a look. I got a few more weeks. I get my official donations. That's why my alumni pin is here too. So I would definitely in a few weeks pay my dues. So I am a active due paying member of both booster and alumni associations that we have there. But I'm saying they're stating the 220 Club is stating we're starting to get to a point to where hey, we need to replenish some of these resources. So support the Rattler Nutrition Program because honestly, you want to win. I mean, you're not gonna get the best performance out of players if they're hungry. So that's something that definitely is gonna be coming up. Look for that in next coming months. You also have some send-offs. Y'all see Marion County that is up in Ocala. They have a scholarship recipient send-off August 12th. Check them out. That is the National Alumni Association's page. I know it's also on the Florida Regional page. Go check that out. Especially the Twitter page. Y'all know who runs that. Um, Also, Tampa chapter. Look, Tampa chapter is the most lit chapter in the state of Florida. Like, don't at me, but between Tampa and South Dade, most lit chapters. Like, no, they stay doing stuff. Like, I promise you, it's lit in Tampa. And if you're in Tampa, I encourage you to join the National Alumni Association because they're always doing something. They got a day party coming up. And yes, you see those feline HBCUs up there, but you obviously see the most beautiful orange and green up there as well. and it's a day party, food, drinks, music for about 4.5 hours. Get you a little vibe on. You already know they're gonna do the set strolls and their fraternity strolls and everything else. If Tampa ain't done shimmying enough, they're gonna have a little shimmy for you now. Um, so I'm just saying, it's gonna be some fun. I'm telling y'all, Tampa is probably, in my opinion, the most lit chapter right now. It's between Tampa and South Dade. And Broward, mentioned the South Floridians, they also have a student send off coming up. Put that back up there. August 5th, 2 p.m., and they got their stuff up there. Again, all of this information is on the FAMU National Alumni Association's Twitter page, their Instagram, Facebook. Same thing with the Rattler Boosters. Information about signing up on there will be updated on the Booster Club's Twitter page, especially. I can promise you that. Give me like a good hour or two to run an errand, and then I'll get that up there because they are doing some stuff. Not like when some of us were growing up and it was like, "Hey, what are the boosters doing? They take parking money. What's going on with it? Oh, we got a scoreboard." We can see the fruits of their efforts, and we can see the fruits in their labors tangible in what we're seeing on the field. On-field production is verification that you are actually doing something. So that's just, a few plugs for some groups that I'm definitely helping with. I won't say that I'm exactly overly passionate about, but I care about FAMU. I care about them. I do try to support organizations I've been a member of. And look, this is my National Alumni Association pin. I don't have my booster tags because they are all at my parents. So this is gonna be my first year being a booster in at least over 10 years. So I'm excited about that and look forward to paying those dues before the end of August. I'm a teacher, so y'all know how that goes. So, but support those initiatives, support those opportunities, those grants. If you are closer to home, we can go to the 220 Club event. They're asking for some help. Go support those FAMU initiatives, FAMU athletics, support the Rattler Athletic Fund. Like let's not complain about what other schools are doing. Let's celebrate. I saw what Jackson State did. And I celebrated. I was like, hey, that's great for y'all. I don't hate you. I just want to beat your butt on the field. But let's do for our own and make sure that we're taking care of our own Rattlers. I intend on doing so. As I told y'all, month of August, I'm definitely going to double up my dues. So I will be a booster and a alumni association member, and I'll probably just have my pin on during one of the shows. Just like to show, like, hey, I'm back. I'm back. I'm active. I'm financial, as y'all fraternity people like to say. So, but that being said, man, big shout out HBCU Digital Network. This is home to Herb Seward and the Black Techies. So, also check out some of these events. This event got canceled. The Helmet and Heels event did get canceled. Hate to say that, but they said they're getting full refunds per Coach Simmons. So, that's not me saying that. That's from the coach's mouth. Also, check out Results Only Fitness and Cable Busters. Who you gonna call Cable Busters? So, man, look forward to seeing y'all again. We're gonna do this on ooh, Sunday's gonna be here quick, man. Ooh, that Sunday gonna be here quick. But Sunday, 8:30, we're gonna talk more about this family football schedule as we gear up for a few more weeks. Like, it's a few weeks away. We are definitely gonna get ready, and we're gonna talk about homecoming. Homecoming, I got a few weeks to get your stuff straight. If you did notice on the family football schedule, you got, like, about a month between home games there. So, it'll be October 28th, the day after my mother's birthday, where FAMU's gonna play Prairie View, A&M University. You can leave that band in Texas. Don't bring 'em. And I ain't even saying that I don't wanna hear them, but I'm just saying that as long as the halftime show is gonna be, don't you can leave that band there. We're gonna talk about that game, talk about, how I feel about it. We're also, what restaurants should you go to during homecoming? Yeah, I know I don't leave it wrong, and I don't see the places that I'm not gonna go or haven't been myself. So we're probably gonna see in the north side. I ain't gonna lie. Homecoming week, I don't do anything on the south side of town except for go to FAMU and I go to the $5 barbecue rib stuff. But the day of homecoming, I avoid everything outside of campus like the plague. I go to campus, I get, I do my thing, I gotta catch Perry Street, and then I get up out of there because it's just too many of y'all up there. And I love my people, but it's just too many and it gets overly cramped. And it's just like, man, I gotta wait 45 minutes at the Applebee's? Oh, no, let me go further north and I can catch that. So we're gonna talk about that, give y'all the place to go, places to be, and some different ideas. Maybe I'm just saying, homecoming is gonna be a little cool. But you know what would be a fun trip, fun idea? Why don't you at a beach house? I'm just saying, like, the beach is like 20, 30 minutes away. You take the weekend off, like it's right before Halloween. How many people are getting beach houses for the classic, for homecoming weekend? Not you. Classic too, honestly. Like go down to Carabel, all that stuff, St. George Island, get you a beach house for a day. That might be kind of fun. I ain't gonna lie. Just an idea. All right, y'all. Let me get up out of here before I get too many crazy ideas and share how far out the box I started thinking sometimes. Well, again, big shout out HBCU Digital Network. This is home to Herb Stewart, the Black Tech and Fangs Up podcast. Also, we are going to be doing a college all-star game in Chicago. Get ready, get excited. We trying to do some things here, man. As always, y'all, it's gonna be things up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it?